Due to price, I was never going to review this ping golf club. So what's changed? And the demand to supply ratio for this club is like nothing I've ever seen before. When I think about good value equipment, not only am I thinking about its initial retail price, but I'm also thinking about what would you get for it if it wasn't to work? How much could you get for it if you were to, well, move it on? And then partner that up with how versatile is the club? Does it just have one job, or does it have multiple functions around the golf course to help improve your golf game? And then thirdly, when we're buying new clubs, whether brand new or second hand, we're doing it for one reason and one reason only: to play better golf and obviously create better scores. So even though my initial reaction to this club retailing at £160 was rip-off, when I look at all three of those reasons, especially the first one, my views somewhat changed. Let me explain. The Ping Chipper, retailing £160 and released earlier on this year. And with my initial reaction being £160 for a club that I normally associate with Sports Direct or car boot sale, my initial reaction was, that is very expensive, considering, well, the little amount of jobs that it's actually used for. But before we get on to the technical points of this club and where it is very useful for a lot of golfers, let's talk price. Because one thing I talk about when it comes to good value equipment is, what do you buy it for? What do you pay it for? And then ultimately, is there a demand for it if you outgrow it? If your technique's got better, maybe you don't need that club anymore. And the demand to supply ratio for this club is like nothing I've ever seen before. And what I mean by that is, you can purchase this club in the UK at the moment, lowest price I found, for £149, brand new. And then on the second hand market, and these are all recent sales over the last couple of weeks, people are paying £110, £120, £130 for it second hand. Not to mention the amount of available listings of this club in the second hand market is virtually non-existent, meaning people are buying this club. There's online club sellers that are selling it at a slight discounted price, i.e. £140, and the people that are buying it are keeping it in the bag, meaning there's a huge demand for this product on the second hand market, even though people are selling it brand new for not really that much more. And the reason that's so important for myself when I review clubs and potentially suggest clubs to you guys is that I don't want you have to go through the rigmarole of listing that club for 3 months on eBay and then get lowballed offer, and then after a while you just trade it in or offload it on Facebook because you can't be bothered to post it. Products that I do find that have a huge amount of demand potentially means that you're not going to have that problem. And if I was wrong and the club that I suggest you isn't right, well, you're not really going to have that much hassle getting rid of it. Because I've reviewed chippers in the past, Sports Direct normally being the place. £20, £30, not that much money, therefore you're not really worrying all too much. But try and sell the thing second hand, because the paint job's going to wear, it's going to deteriorate, it's going to get easy bag marks, which potentially this one won't. Very much similar to all Ping golf clubs that, let's be honest, are built like tanks. And yes, you only spent £30 on the Slazenger one, but ultimately you're only going to lose £30 maximum on one of these if the market stays where it's at. And big shout out to the boys at Replay Golf for loaning me this Ping chipper, because I know how sought after these are, and this wouldn't have been hanging around long in their stock. And my hat goes off to Ping in terms of their design for this, because it eradicates all stigma. Automatically, when we've seen putters in the past with a 45-degree slant on them, you think, that player has the yips, that player can't chip, that player has zero confidence around the game. Whereas now, if this was in the bag, you're essentially getting the exact same thing, but the club looks totally different, but still gives you that confidence and performance. Which in 2022, going into 2023, coming up with new innovative designs to potentially do the same thing, is quite impressive. But there are downsides, and I want to give you a separate option, because this isn't versatile. This is a one-trip pony. bump and run. And to be fair, for most amateur golfers around most golf courses, especially this time of year, bump and run is your go-to shot. But there are going to be times that you don't need this. And even at £120, £130, I could probably get you 3 premium Cleveland wedges and give you the same technique as we're doing here. Ping have been very clever in making this more upright, giving you a big sole to work with on the bottom there so it can glide and bump off the ground. But you can do this with your wedge. Stand closer to it, dig the toe into the ground, lock out those wrists with minimal wrist hinge, and you're essentially going to get the same shot. And you might be thinking, yes, Simon, but my wedge is at 56 degrees. Well, do it with your 8-iron. It's exactly the same thing. But I would be lying to you if I didn't say this is easier to do that technique rather than using your 8-iron. It's already at the right lie angle for you to set up. Typically, when I've used chippers in the past, I've always said use them as a training aid. Get used to that idea standing closer. Get used to pushing your hands out higher and get used to the idea of just gently brushing into the ground using the sole of the golf club, and then recreate that with your wedges. But looking at the sold listings and looking at how few of these are out on the second-hand market, I don't think many people are ready to outgrow them. And the confidence that this club is potentially giving them, well, is worth its weight in gold. Still getting used to the frozen greens. And then lastly, is this club going to save you shots? Is it going to help you improve your golf game? And just like any golf club that I've ever fitted for in the past, if I really wanted to improve someone's score, make them better, give them more confidence, it's not about making their good shot better. Even in some cases that I was able to gain someone 25 yards with a great club fit, right driver, right head, right spin launch, you name it. If it resulted in them hitting a bad shot, a destructive shot, a card wrecking shot whilst trying to get that distance gain, ultimately that gain in distance isn't going to help their score in the long run. And the same thing applies to chippers. Whether it's this one, the Odyssey one, your old one at the car boot sale, they're gonna make your bad shots better because you don't need as much club head speed. They are de-lofted, you are closer to it. Less can go wrong. So if you were to fat it, if you were to thin it, if you were to hit it a tiny bit too hard, well, the bad shot is still gonna be somewhat around the flag, opposed to the thin with your 60-degree wedge, or on the other side, the chunk that lands 2 foot in front of you because you catch the leading edge. So guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. Are you looking for it? Are you have it? Or are you getting rid of it? If you like this video, you might want to check out the Callaway 2023 lineup and what it's going to do to the older models. Catch you guys later. This Ping golf club. This Ping golf club. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. This Ping golf club. Oh, just go in. Never going to review this Ping golf club. So what's changed?